Welcome back to Safe Simple Sound. Today we are diving into the minimalist approach to financial planning and explore how whole life insurance can serve as a solid foundation for a secure and streamlined financial life. We will uncover concepts like the shell and stone strategy and the living jacket, showing how these ideas align with the minimalist principles to simplify your finances while maximizing growth and flexibility. To guide us through this journey, I am excited to have our AI voices bring these strategies to life. Before we dive in, one quick note. In this episode, you will hear the AI refer to whole life insurance as an investment. Just to clarify, whole life insurance is not an investment in the traditional sense. It's a powerful way to save while also providing for your family after you pass away. I kept the term investment to encourage you to practice reframing it as savings, not investment, when thinking about whole life insurance. Let's get started.
So you're ready to dive into minimalism and how it connects with financial planning using whole life insurance.
Sounds fascinating.
We're going deep into this document, One Foundation, Infinite Space, to really uncover how whole life insurance can be that bedrock for your minimalist finances.
Minimalism is usually about our physical spaces,
Mm.
simplifying, prioritizing, removing excess. But those principles apply just as well to our financial lives.
It's like decluttering our finances, creating a sense of spaciousness and clarity.
Exactly. One Foundation, Infinite Space, actually starts with Emma's story. Emma is a minimalist lifestyle coach, had this beautifully curated minimalist home.
Okay.
But when it came to her finances, it was a completely different picture.
I can relate, maybe my home is tidy, but sometimes my finances feel like this jumbled mess of accounts and statements, and it's overwhelming.
You're definitely not alone. The document describes how Emma was juggling multiple investment accounts, various insurance policies, an emergency fund, and this really complex estate plan. It was causing her a lot of stress, and holding her back from enjoying that minimalist lifestyle she'd worked so hard to create.
Right, and that's where the idea of minimalist architecture comes in, right? This idea of a single, well-designed structure serving multiple purposes.
Exactly, yeah. The document takes inspiration from the architect Tadao Ando, known for those really minimalist concrete structures. And just like those structures provide a solid base for an entire building, whole life insurance, it can become the bedrock of your entire financial plan.
Okay, so instead of all these separate rooms, we're consolidating everything into one strong, unified structure.
I like that analogy. Yeah.
I like it too. But walk me through how whole life insurance actually achieves this.
Sure.
A lot of people think it's just about the death benefit, right?
That's a common misconception. While the death benefit is definitely crucial, offering financial security for your loved ones if something happens, whole life insurance is so much more than just that.
Okay.
It also has this cash value component that grows steadily over time, and it grows tax deferred.
So is it kind of like a savings account but built into your insurance policy?
That's a great way to put it, yeah. And this cash value can be accessed through policy loans, giving you liquidity when you need it without messing up your long-term investment strategy.
This is starting to sound like a minimalist dream, right? One tool that kind of does it all.
It can be a great way to simplify things.
But what about the things people always say about whole life insurance?
Hmm?
Like the higher premiums, for example, compared to term life insurance?
That's a really fair point, and One Foundation, Infinite Space, actually addresses that directly. It argues that those higher premiums are actually an investment.
An investment.
Yeah, in a comprehensive lifelong protection. So you're not just paying for coverage for a specific term, you're paying for a lifetime of security.
So you're not going to have to repurchase term insurance later in life, which can be a lot more expensive as you get older, right?
Right, exactly. And it also provides that cash value component we talked about earlier. So it's working for you in multiple ways.
It's like investing in that high-quality piece of furniture that you know is going to last a lifetime, as opposed to buying something cheap that you're going to have to replace every few years.
I love that analogy.
Yeah, it gets at that idea of the long-term value and peace of mind that comes with a well-structured whole life insurance policy, right?
Exactly.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. But what about growth potential? People often say that whole life insurance grows much slower than other investments.
Yeah, that's true. Whole life insurance may not have those big, high returns you could potentially get from riskier investments, like in the stock market, but it provides a different kind of value. One Foundation, Infinite Space, really emphasizes the importance of steady, predictable growth. It's not about getting rich quick. It's about knowing that your money is steadily growing in a safe and predictable way. giving you that sense of security that can be so important during times of economic uncertainty,
Yeah, it's that balance between those potential high returns and stability.
Right. It's a trade-off.
This is making me rethink my whole approach to financial planning.
It's definitely worth considering.
Whole life insurance, especially looking at it from this minimalist perspective,
Yeah.
it offers that simplification, that protection, and the peace of mind.
Yeah, it can be really powerful.
It's appealing.
For sure.
It's fascinating how just shifting your perspective on something like whole life insurance can reveal all this potential for creating a minimalist financial life.
It is, isn't it?
But I'm curious about the practicality. Like, how can you actually use whole life insurance to manage your daily expenses and still stay true to those minimalist principles?
That's where this concept called the shell and stone strategy comes in. It's really powerful.
Tell me more.
Okay, so imagine you have shells. These are your long-term compound interest investments.
Okay.
Think retirement accounts, index funds, those assets you want to just protect and let grow undisturbed.
Okay, so the shells are like my nest egg.
Yeah.
Steadily growing.
Exactly.
What are the stones then?
Stones are simple interest loans that you use strategically for your short-term needs.
Okay.
Things like a home renovation or unexpected car repairs.
What?
Any of those big expenses that you wouldn't want to disrupt your long-term investments for.
So instead of cracking open my shell, I could use a stone to bridge the gap.
Right,
I
exactly.
like that. It's a cool way to think about it.
It is. It's about using the right tool for the job, right?
Right.
And one foundation, Infinite Space, really emphasizes that. Protecting those shells so they can benefit from compound interest.
Compound interest is kind of like magic. The longer your money is invested, the more it grows exponentially.
Exactly. It's powerful stuff. And to illustrate this, one foundation, Infinite Space, has this case study where they compare two investors.
Okay.
Investor A uses money from their investment account, their shell, to pay for a home renovation.
Right.
Investor B uses a simple interest loan, a stone, to cover the same renovation.
Okay, so who comes out ahead?
After 10 years, Investor B, the one who used the stone, ends up with a significantly higher net worth, even after you factor in the interest they paid on the loan.
Wow, that's pretty eye-opening.
It is. It shows that even though there might be some interest costs with a stone in the short term, preserving that compound growth of your shells can make a big difference in the long run.
Right, it's about playing the long game.
Yeah. The document also uses this great analogy about oyster farmers.
Oyster farmers.
Yeah, oyster farmers. They know the value of protecting their oysters until the pearls are fully formed.
They don't just crack them open when they need money.
No, they're patient. They've learned that letting those pearls mature fully leads to a much bigger reward.
And that's kind of a lesson for how we should manage our own finances, right?
Exactly. Thinking long-term, being patient.
So how do you actually put the shell and stone strategy into practice?
Well, the first thing is to identify those shells, those long-term investments that you absolutely want to protect and let grow.
Okay.
Then you do a protection audit.
A protection audit, what's that?
It's basically assessing what could threaten those shells. Do you have a solid emergency fund to cover unexpected expenses? Are you ready for market fluctuations?
Right.
It's about creating a buffer so you don't have to tap into those shells prematurely.
So it's like a two-pronged approach.
Yeah.
Protecting your long-term investments, those shells, and then having that strategic plan for dealing with the bigger expenses, the stones.
Exactly. And when it comes to the stones, it's about making smart choices. Do your research. Look into different simple interest loans, like personal loans or low-interest lines of credit.
Right. Finding those options that really fit your needs.
Right. And so much of this goes back to the principles of minimalism we talked about,
Yeah.
It's about intentionality, making those conscious choices that support your long-term goals.
Right.
With the shell and stone strategy, you're not just managing money, you're creating a foundation that's stable and flexible.
This is really giving me a whole new framework for thinking about my finances.
That's great.
It feels like a way to declutter and simplify, to create space for what truly matters,
It is. And one foundation, Infinite Space, actually offers another really compelling idea that builds on this idea of a living jacket.
A living jacket. Okay, now I'm intrigued. What is that all about?
Yeah.
So we've talked about minimalist finances and using whole life insurance as our foundation, and then the shell and stone strategy.
Right.
Now, this living jacket concept from one foundation, Infinite Space, I got to hear more about that.
It's a really interesting way to look at the idea of an emergency fund.
Yeah.
You know, we usually think of an emergency fund like an umbrella shielding us from financial storms. But an umbrella, well, it only offers so much protection.
Right. It can't protect you from every downpour, and it definitely can't grow bigger if you need it to, right?
Exactly. The living jacket is a much more dynamic approach. Instead of just sitting there static like an umbrella, it actually grows and adapts with you over time.
And this is where whole life insurance comes in.
It does, yeah.
So how does whole life insurance actually create this living jacket?
Well, the document focuses on a specific type of whole life insurance policy, a 10-pay policy.
10-pay. Yeah.
You pay premiums for 10 years and then you're done. But the policy keeps growing in value throughout your lifetime.
So it's like an investment you make for a set period, but the benefits, the cash value, the death benefit, all that keeps growing even after you've stopped paying those premiums.
Exactly. The document uses this analogy of planting a tree. You nurture it for a while, and then it continues to give you shade and fruit long after you've stopped actively tending to it.
I like that.
And a good 10-pay whole life policy can be that living jacket for your finances.
So instead of just having money sitting in a savings account, maybe even losing value because of inflation, this living jacket, powered by whole life insurance, is growing and working for you.
Exactly, yeah. And that's a key difference. One foundation, Infinite Space, actually lays this all out in what they call a growth protection matrix.
Okay.
Imagine you start with $50,000. That traditional emergency fund, your umbrella, stays at $50,000. But the living jacket, tied to a whole life policy, it keeps increasing in value over time.
Give me a sense of how much it could grow,
Yeah.
paint the picture.
Sure. So in their example, after 10 years, the living jacket is worth over $74,000. And then after 20 years, it's almost $110,000. And by year 30, it's over $162,000. And this is all while still providing that death benefit for your loved ones.
Wow, that is incredible.
It is.
It's like a safety net that not only catches you if you fall, but it gets bigger as you go. Provide more support as your life changes.
It's about having that dynamic protection.
But what about inflation? Doesn't that eat away at the value of money over time?
Yeah, that's a good point, and the document definitely talks about that. Inflation can have a big impact on a traditional emergency fund, that umbrella. You might technically have the same amount of money, but its buying power goes down as prices go up.
So even though it feels good to have that money set aside, it might not be enough when you really need it, right?
Right. And that's where the living jacket comes in. It's designed to grow at a rate that can at least keep up with inflation, maybe even beat it. So you have real financial security that adapts to the changing economy.
And to really illustrate this, one foundation, Infinite Space, has a case study, right? It's Sarah's umbrella versus Michael's living jacket.
Exactly.
So tell me about Sarah and Michael.
Okay, so Sarah, she worked hard to build a traditional emergency fund, did everything right.
Okay.
But then years later, there was a family emergency.
Oh, no.
And unfortunately, she found that her umbrella just wasn't enough. Inflation had taken its toll.
And even though she did everything right, saved diligently, she was still caught off guard.
It shows you that a static approach to financial security has its limits.
Yeah.
Now, Michael, on the other hand, he had his living jacket. And because it had grown so much over the years, it gave him that financial cushion he needed to get through that tough time.
It's a powerful example of how, that dynamic approach can make a real difference when things get tough.
It really does. And the document points out some of the key benefits of this living jacket approach. First, it grows with you. It keeps pace with inflation, your needs change, and you always have that protection.
So it's not just about surviving a financial storm, it's about thriving.
Exactly.
Okay.
What else? It's an active asset, not just money sitting there. That cash value in a whole life insurance policy is designed to grow.
Okay.
And then, of course, you have the death benefit, which provides for your family if something happens to you.
Right, it's multifaceted.
Yeah. And it also gives you flexibility. You can access those funds through policy loans without affecting the growth of your policy.
I see how that ties in with the shell and stone strategy.
Yeah, it does. And then finally, and maybe most importantly, it helps you build a legacy.
Okay.
That death benefit ensures your family's taken care of even after you're gone.
So it's a way to extend that minimalist, secure approach beyond your own life.
Right. So for anyone who is intrigued by this living jacket idea, One Foundation, Infinite Space, recommends a few things.
Lay it on me.
First, look at your current protection needs. How much do you have in your emergency fund? How well would it really cover a big financial setback?
Right, so assess the situation, See if your umbrella is big enough.
Then talk to a financial professional who really knows whole life insurance. They can help you choose the right policy for your situation.
Right. It's important to have a good guide.
And then, once you have that living jacket in place, make sure you track how it's growing. Look at your policy every year. See how that cash value and death benefit are going up. It's motivating to see the power of compound interest working for you.
Yeah, watching that security blossom. And you're not just reacting to financial problems, you're building for the future.
Exactly. And remember, a living jacket is so much more than just an emergency fund.
Right.
It can help you achieve your long-term goals, including leaving a legacy for the people you care about.
I like that.
If you want more personalized guidance on all of this, Safe Simple Sound is a great resource.
I like their name, Safe, Simple, Sound. It really speaks to everything we've been talking about.
It does. They have a team of really experienced people who are passionate about helping people create a secure and simple financial life.
This has been an eye-opening deep dive. We've gone from this basic understanding of whole life insurance to seeing it as a really powerful tool for building a minimalist and secure financial life.
It's about shifting your perspective.
We talked about simplifying our finances, using whole life insurance as that foundation, and then strategies like the shell and stone approach and this living jacket concept to make sure our finances are both stable and flexible.
It's about being proactive and intentional with your money.
And as we've learned, whole life insurance can be a key part of that. So if you're feeling overwhelmed by your finances or you're just curious about this whole minimalist approach to financial planning, reach out to Safe, Simple, Sound.
They can help you figure out if whole life insurance is right for you, and they can help you create a plan that aligns with your goals and values.
Remember, everyone's journey to financial freedom is different. Keep learning, keep exploring, and keep those financial fires burning bright.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into minimalist financial planning. I hope this episode shed light on how whole life insurance can be more than just a policy. It can be the foundation of a simplified, secure, and intentional financial life. As you reflect on these strategies, think about your own approach to financial planning. Are your finances aligned with your values? Are your tools working for you long term? If you are ready to explore how to build your living jacket or apply the shell and stone strategy, reach out to Safe Simple Sound for guidance. Until next time, remember to keep it safe, simple, and sound.